It is time for Mac Geek Gab, and listener Tony brings us our quick tip of the week. He says when you're in Safari, and actually this works where you're typing text too, if you highlight currency, and this is on your iPhone, we haven't found this to work on the Mac yet, but maybe there's a way. But on your iPhone, in Safari, or just in a text that you've entered, if you highlight a price that is not in your currency, so if for me, if I live in the US, so my currency is standardized on dollars. If I put like 438 pounds or something, and then highlight that text, just like I was going to copy or paste it, that little menu to copy and paste floats up above the text that I've highlighted. Scrolling to the right on that menu, when you go 2 steps to the right, or 2 screens to the right, 2 scrolls to the right, I don't know what the right way to say it is, whatever it is, you will see the currency translated to your local currency right there. And that works highlighting it in Safari. It also works just highlighting text you typed. If it's in Messages, the currency will actually have a little underline. You can float over it and it'll show it to you right there just by long pressing on it. So more tips like this, plus your questions answered today on Mac Geek Gab 975 for Monday, April 3rd, 2023. Folks, and welcome to Mac Geek Gab, the show where you send in tips like that and we share tips like that. You send in your questions, we answer your questions. Sometimes we have questions of our own that we try to answer, and we sometimes, but probably won't have time for it today, we share your cool stuff found and our cool stuff found so that we can learn about all the new tech and, well, cool things that we have found. Really original name for that segment, but it seems to have stuck. The goal in doing all of this is that every single one of us learns at least 5 new things every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include CleanMyMac X. This is one of my favorite utilities, and you can get 5% off at Macpaw.app /MacGeekGab. We'll talk more in depth about that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is John F. Braun.
In here, in, I think, Lee, New Hampshire. I have no idea where I am right now. No, I'm home. It's Pilot Pete. I've been on the road all week. I'm trying to catch myself.
I was actually surprised when you said John F. Braun today. John, I knew it was you. Like, we even do this on video, so I'm looking at you. I heard you say here in Fairfield, Connecticut, and I was expecting you to say Pilot Pete. I was taken aback when you said John F. Braun. I don't know what that says about my mental state, but it does not bode well for the future of this particular episode. I'm just going to say.
Isn't that like picking up a drink and expecting Coke and getting water or something? You know, it's like,
yeah, or getting milk. Yeah, something.
Right?
Yeah. Like, wow, super different. Yeah, like warm milk instead of ice cold Coca-Cola.
I expected it all.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Finder, guys.
That's a good idea.
Aaron has some shortcuts to make your life easier. If a Macintosh window has a title, like the Finder window, then you can usually command-click on it to see the path. In the Finder, you can also use Command-up arrow and Command-down arrow to transverse the hierarchy. It's one of those "what did you do" keystroke commands. Also, Command double-click on a folder will open the folder as a tab in the Finder.
Oh.
And Command Option double-click will open the folder as a new window.
I didn't know about the Command double-click to do the tab. Wow.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
And finally.
Maybe I did. I don't know. Sorry, keep going. Yes.
And then finally, in the Open dialog, you can grab a file or folder from the Finder and drag it into the Open dialog to have the dialog jump to the dragged file or folder directory.
What? Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's yeah, I knew about that one.
Oh,
I don't use it that
not.
often because I use default folder.
Right. Yeah, same. That's probably why I did not know about that one. That's pretty good. So if you have an open save dialog, and then there's a Finder window sort of in the background. You can grab a file or folder and just drag it on top of the open save dialog, sort of from the background to the foreground, if you will. And then is that how it works? And then it will auto navigate you to that. Is that right?
As far as I know, yes.
Wow. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. All right. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Let's see. I've got one from PCUnix in our Discord channel who shared, he says, I didn't know that you could share individual reminder lists, and you can. And he says, when I realized this, I was very happy because my wife makes pickup stuff lists on Post-it notes and then loses them in her handbag. She uses notes on her phone very well, but uses that for so many other things that she can never find her pickup list. So she creates a new one. So confusing. But yeah, you can share and even better, assign reminders to other people. So once you've shared the reminders list, then so you pull up the reminders list, you share it, right? And this is in reminders, not in notes. You share the list, and then you can assign a reminder in a shared list. So if like the three of us had a list together of shared reminders, we could assign them to one another. So it was like, oh, okay, this one's for John, this one's for Dave, this one's for Pete. I had no idea of any of this. Apple's got a support article that we'll link to in the show notes at macgeekgab.com or mgg.fm/975, because that'll bring you right to the notes for this show. But that
assignment ability is huge.
Right? I had no idea. Yeah. I wonder how, also in reminders, when I updated to macOS 13.3 this week and then launched reminders, to be fair, this might be the first time that I've launched reminders since I ran Ventura, because since I installed Ventura, since I generally don't use Apple's reminders app, I use BusyCal to manage my calendar and reminders. So it's possible, but it says you can pin your favorite lists. You can create reminders templates. So if you didn't know about those things either, well, there they are. So thanks for that, PCUnix. Yeah, the whole sharing, this is a paradigm I need to sort of wrap my head around, this sharing of reminders. That's, yeah, cool stuff. Or quick tips, but it is cool. They are cool, quick tips. All right, John, take us to Keith.
All right, Keith has another tip courtesy of his kids, sort of. You may already know that the S-Lady can stop alarms. Hey, S-Lady, stop the alarm. One day I found
that's new, by the way. We ranted about that on this show a couple of years ago, where you could set an alarm with S-Lady, but you had to touch your phone to stop it. Thank goodness they fixed that.
You must have been listening.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Apple.
So one day I found that one of my girls had left her alarm on during a day off from school, and she wasn't turning it off. So I went to her room and I said, hey, S-Lady, stop the alarm, assuming that her phone would respond. However, instead, I heard Siri on my phone say, would you like to turn off the alarm? A dialog box was on the screen to confirm or not. I confirmed and it turned off her alarm. I did some experiments later and found that you can simply respond with yes or no. Furthermore, instead of saying stop, you can also say snooze. One thing that I haven't tried to do is that to do this when more than one phone alarm are going off at the same time. I sort of think that you could say stop person's alarm to stop a specific one, or possibly all to stop them all.
Oh, that would be interesting.
I also assume that this would only work with those who are on your family plan. Perhaps there are other family plan tricks associated with Siri as well.
Yeah, I've never run into that, but it makes sense because we're on a family plan. We share with 6 people. You don't share a family plan with your parents, John?
No.
Because you can have 6 people on your plan, and it makes that Apple One subscription
cheaper,
way cheaper. Exactly, because we have the 4 of us. Well, really only 2 of us live in my house now. We're basically empty nesters. Our son lives across the state doing an internship over in Keene, and then our daughter lives in Italy. But we're still part of the same family plan, and And then we also have my dad and his wife on the plan because you can have up to 6. And why wouldn't you? It's, you share the same iCloud storage pool, and then everybody gets Apple TV Plus and all of that stuff. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if probably not, if you could set somebody else's alarm. Like if I could say, hey, yes, lady, set my son's alarm. Because he didn't set it when he went to bed. But that
hang
could
on.
play havoc.
Hang on. Let me try something here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mute
Hey,
yourself
Siri,
so you
set
don't-
Lisa's alarm. 11:05 a.m. Let's see. No, it set my alarm. Oh, and it named it Lisa's. So the answer is no, you cannot.
Okay.
And my apologies to everybody whose phone knows my voice.
Just set an alarm.
Yeah, well, Siri's pretty good with ignoring voices that aren't you. Like even my son and I, who sound quite similar, rarely can we trigger one another's stuff. So yeah, interesting. So no, you can't set alarms for other people. That's and I wonder if the phone, if it's using some sort of proximity detection to make sure that I'm not turning off the alarm for, say, my daughter who's in Italy when none of her devices are here, even though we're on the same family plan. Like I wonder,
That could wreak real havoc. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So if anybody knows, feedback at macgeekgab.com. We'd love to know that. But really quick tips, if you have them, that's how these got here, or our macgeekgab.com/Discord. So send them in. We'd love to hear.
Feedback at macgeekgab.com.
No, John, I clearly heard him say feedback at macgeekgab.com.
Pete, what did Tim say?
Tim actually gave us a twofer, as it were. So he was listening to show 973, and he wanted to further expand on 2 things. The first one was talking about the path bar in Finder. Just so you know, if you don't have in Finder your path bar showing, you can hit alternate command P, and it'll show the path bar. It will also hide it if you're already showing it. When you selected a file in the Finder window, right-click on the file icon in the path bar, and the default copy option is to copy its path name. With loads of external drives, I've used this feature combined with the Paste app to copy file path names. So wherever it is, I happened upon something I've been looking for. I now have that location in the Paste app, history that is synced to iCloud. My workflow use case isn't that the additional, I'm sorry, I'm screwing the reading up here. My workflow use case isn't the tip. The additional path bar file right click is the thing. So that's it. Yeah. So the file right click, and I've actually found, well, if you need to change, say, directories in terminal, that makes it a whole lot easier. Click on that, get your path, and paste that into terminal, and it makes it easier to change right to that drive and path that you want to go to.
Okay, yeah. So having the path at the bottom of the Finder, and really you pick whichever.
Click on a file in Finder. And then look at the path at the bottom and right-click on that file name, and you have the option to copy the entire path.
Copy as path name. Yeah. But you can also go up the chain. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, as you go left, you can go anywhere in that path and grab that portion thereof and go from there.
Interesting. And what's that put on my clipboard? Okay, so it's just like a terminal usable path right there on my clipboard. Yeah.
Slick. Huh. And then the other one came from a problem that you may recall that I had, which was I had a buried unread text message, and man, I could not find it.
Yes.
And he said, if you have an unread text that is showing the red badge in Mac OS with the messages open, right-click on the Messages app in the dock. And then right-click on the right-click menu will show what or who the unread text is from, and you can select it from that menu and go directly to that text.
Oh, I have some work to do after the show. I have 5 messages over there that I knew about one of them. So
there you go.
Yep.
One of them may be me telling you I was going to be late back to the show.
I saw that
because my coffee maker wasn't playing nicely.
Yeah. Well, you were flying all night too. You need that coffee today,
I do
Pete.
Indeed. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, before you go, I put it in our
more?
Discord live chat. That video I sent you guys, one of the most active thunderstorm cells I've ever seen. It's in our Discord live chat.
Yeah, I'll put it. I'll put a link to the Discord live chat right here in the show.
There you go. 25 seconds of unbelievable lightning.
Yeah, I was blown away when you texted us that video. That was impressive, man. Yeah. All right, John, take us to Paul.
I'm going to take us to Paul. Dave and John suggested to intentionally call using FaceTime audio when calling people internationally. Why not just do that all the time and make it your favorite? It's not speed dial, it's favorites. When you add someone, you can select to call them via FaceTime or Teams, cellular, or other apps.
It's true. Yep. I did. As soon as his tip came in, I removed my daughter from favorites because I had like her cell number in there, and I added her with her FaceTime audio, and now that's what's in my favorites by default. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
brilliant.
You know, I haven't done it in a long time because I usually either do FaceTime or Skype or something like that. But so does Mint Mobile charge for, international calls?
Well, yes. I mean, if I were to call my daughter's Italy number, like she doesn't have a U.S. number anymore. She has that €11 a month SIM card in Italy, their eSIM.
Can she send us one?
Yeah, exactly. It gets her 150 gigs of data and unlimited voice and unlimited SMS. So yeah. So if I were to call that number, yes, I would pay like the international long distance charges, whatever you're supposed to call it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we just FaceTime audio, but to answer Paul's rhetorical question, why not just do that all the time? I don't want to do that with everyone because I pay for my data, and I have I only buy a limited amount of data per month, so I don't want my default calls to be using that data. Obviously, if I'm calling my daughter, even if I'm on Wi-Fi, none of it matters, of course. But if I'm on cell data, and look, audio doesn't burn a ton of data. It really probably in the end would make zero difference to me, but that's why I don't do it. So, but yeah, that's a pretty good one, John. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, who's next on the old quick tips here?
I think we have Nick, and we actually tried this in pre-show. It is possible to attach a Memojis sticker directly to a message rather than sending it as a unique message. This works on both Mac and iPhone, but I do not have an iPad to test this with, but because Messages is universal-ish.
Try say that 10 times fast.
I would expect it to work there as well. To do this, bring up the Memoji Messages app, find the emoji you want to send, press and hold on the one you want, and then drag it to the specific message. You can also stack multiple stickers on the same message. You can change the size once placed during placement as well by pinching or pulling it. Okay.
Yeah.
And we verified this in pre-show.
Yeah.
Now, at first, I was like, how do you get rid of it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought holding, so you got to, it's kind of weird. So you got to hold down. If you want to get rid of it, hold down. Then I think it has sticker details. And then swipe to the left, and you'll have the option to delete it. So.
Yeah, right. On the phone, you hold down on the emoji, Memoji, and then you're on the message. Sorry, and then you get that menu of options, and one of them is sticker details. On the Mac, you right-click the message, and you get the same a similar list, and sticker details is one of the things there. So you can remove it, but when you remove the Memoji as a sticker, it only removes it for you. In our shared chat that we have with the three of us, when I removed it from mine, it remained for the two of you, and the same was true in reverse. Yeah. So, yeah.
And when I first read this, I understood it to be like when you're sending a message, but no, we're talking about reaction. So Dave sends me a message, I can then drag a Memoji onto the message he sent me, and it pops on his screen as a reaction.
Yes.
To it. So
yes,
that was what needed to be clarified also for me in pre-show.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It keeps it fun. Ari has a tip for us today that I like, although my guess is it would cause issues with Ventura, at least in terms of the way I've been having core audio issues. He says, as parents of a baby who sleeps in our bedroom, we needed a way to be able to watch our shows on my laptop without waking the little one. As you know, you have the option to share audio between two pairs of AirPods on iOS and iPadOS. However, disappointingly, no such functionality exists on the Mac as of yet. The workaround is to pair both pairs of AirPods with my Mac. Then go into Audio MIDI Setup and create an aggregate speaker tool. He says, I call mine SharePods, which outputs sound to both sets of buds at the same time. It works pretty okay, he says, but certain services like YouTube TV and HBO Max will freeze or not work when you try to use this. Maybe it's a licensing issue? Oh, that's weird. He says also, when you turn on the aggregate speaker, you both have the ability to control volume individually on the pods as well as your volume control on the keyboard. You can only adjust volume through the UI of the browser. Maybe I'm missing this. You both lose the ability to control volume individually. That makes more sense. He says you can only adjust volume through the UI of the browser, and this brings it up and down for both pairs of buds simultaneously. Also, it's pretty quirky to get working sometimes, requiring multiple pairs and toggles, so it's not perfect, but it's the best you can get until Apple decides to roll out Share Audio to macOS. So I have some tips for you. You can go back into Audio MIDI Setup and set different output levels for different speakers of an aggregate device, I believe. So I think you can set a relative difference between the two. You could have one louder or quieter than the other, I believe. I haven't tried this with AirPods yet, but that's worth checking out. And then Rogue Amoeba, why can't I remember the name of the app that they have that lets you control the volume? Sound Source from Rogue Amoeba lets you control the volume of devices that don't let you control their volume. So if you installed Rogue Amoeba's Sound Source, and of course I'll put a link in the show notes, then you could control the volume on both pairs with and maybe even both devices with the keyboard or with the menu option. So Sound Source might be the simplest answer to all of your issues there. So try that out.
I need a speculation.
Go.
Let's say you've got two sets of AirPods Pro 2nd Gen. The nice thing about those is you can put your thumb on the back of the stem of the AirPod and slide your finger up and down to adjust the volume without having to go to your watch or your iPhone or whatever to change the volume. I'm wondering if that would work individually.
No, I think that's what he was saying is it doesn't, because what that does is it tells the device to change the volume.
Gotcha.
And since the device, the host device, the computer in this case, right, the Mac. So I probably not. But I can't say for sure.
It's looking at all four AirPods as one.
Yeah, it's looking at the aggregate device as the in-use device is exactly it. Yeah. And in fact, the one thing that might not be clear based on the way that I read Ari's thing is once you create that aggregate device, you have to then set that as your sound output device. So you will add it, and then a new entry shows up for him. It's called SharePods because that's what he named it. But that then shows up in the the sound output list, and so you would choose that, and then things would go to the SharePods.
System settings.
That is in system settings. Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yes, system settings. Is that what we call it now? I can't even remember.
Used to be preferences.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, now I remember. All right, we got a couple more quick tips left. John, you want to take us? You want to take us to both of them? Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to do some investigation here. So Alan sent in a very short, quick tip. Zoom toggle by hitting Option Command 8. I'm like, okay, let me try it. And I tried it, and it didn't work.
Okay. This is on your Mac. I know that's kind of obvious when we say keyboard, but I just want to make that clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I did some searching, and I found a dandy little article, Dave, called Mac Accessibility Shortcuts. And it had this listed among a whole bunch of others. but this one had a little number next to it. You know, it was like footnote 2 and I was like, okay, let me read it. Oh, here's the problem. To use the zoom shortcut, you might need to turn on use keyboard shortcuts to zoom in accessibility preferences. And sure enough, that option was off for me. So once I turned it on, I was able to do this zoom gesture or shortcut. So
cool.
There you go.
Cool. I will offer a related tip. If you don't ever expect to use keyboard zoom, go into accessibility and turn that option off so that you don't accidentally hit keyboard zoom. I have found myself there, and it's a nightmare sometimes. If you don't know what that keystroke is, and you're now in zoom depths, and you can't move around the way you'd want to move around, it's not fun, man.
What did I do?
What did I do, and how do I stop it? Yeah, so I highly recommend, unless you're going to do this, go into and there's nothing wrong with using keyboard zoom. It's a great way of zooming in on things, which can be good for demos, or if you if the things that you have on your screen are smaller than you are comfortable seeing and all that good stuff. It's great. But if you don't need it, it can sure get in your way when it comes up seemingly randomly. All right. One last quick tip. Really have two more, but we'll do another one a little bit later. But for now, I think listener Dave wraps up our quick tip section. Yeah, John?
I think so. Quick tip. I recently received a debit card from a promotion. I could spend the debit card through Apple Pay because I put the card in my Apple Wallet. Though I forgot it was there, and I also knew that eventually I'd buy something that costs more than was on the card, thus ignoring the small balance potentially forever. Digging around with some web search. Dig around with some web search. Tangent. Okay, he warned me there was a tangent. Quick tip inside a quick tip. Check out the AI web search Neva. I replaced Google with it, and I won't look back. So back to the original quick tip. You can put your debit cards and prepaid cards into Apple Pay Cash. Step 1, debit card, prepaid Visa gift card goes in the Apple Wallet. Step 2, you can add funds to Apple Pay Cash from the debit prepaid card you just put in your Apple Wallet. Step 3, why this is awesome, you can then transfer the new Apple Pay Cash to your bank account.
That's
sneaky.
Smart.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the tip is add the debit card into your Apple Wallet, and then add funds to Apple Pay Cash from the debit card, and then transfer the Apple Pay Cash to your bank, and boom, you're good to go. Okay, I love this kind of stuff.
And here's what's cool about that. How many times do those cards expire? Those Visa gift cards,
yes.
In 6 months or so, especially if it's a rebate, something like that. So if you can grab that off of there and put it in, you don't lose it.
Ooh, there's that sound. That sound means that I get to tell you about our sponsor today, and I am so happy to have this sponsor on board, CleanMyMac X. This is this all-in-one utility that can help us delete megatons of junk. We can check our Macs for malware, and we can make our Macs faster and more organized. We've been talking about this app for a long time, and that's because it's been around for almost 15 years and is notarized by Apple, and it's even available in the Mac App Store. So if you want a better running Mac, go get CleanMyMac X today with 5% off at Macpaw.app/MacGeekGab. That discount works only for 2 weeks. So go now to Macpaw.app/MacGeekGab for 5% off. John and I, we've been using CleanMyMac X for a long time. We love its Space Lens feature. Is one of my most used things, but I use all kinds of stuff in there all the time. And hey, one more thing. CleanMyMac's menu app has recently added a new module called Connected Devices. It monitors the state of devices like iPhones, iPads, and other devices connected to your Mac via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or cable. The Menu app remains free for all macOS users, so feel free to check out the new functionality there, too. And our thanks to Macpaw and CleanMyMac X for sponsoring this episode. While I've got you here, I got a show to talk about. Listen, when the New Yorker magazine asked Mark Zuckerberg how he gets his news, he said the one news source he definitely follows is TechMeme. For 4 years now, the TechMeme Ride Home podcast has been Silicon Valley's favorite tech news source. The podcast has become so successful, in fact, that it launched a venture fund where the listeners to the show are the limited partners in the fund. The TechMeme Ride Home is like TLDR as a service. It's not just the latest headlines from the world of tech. It's also the context around the latest news of the day. It's all the top stories, the top posts and tweets and conversations about those stories, as well as behind-the-scenes analysis. Guests who have come on to lend their expertise include Andreessen Horowitz's Chris Dixon and Bloomberg's Apple rumor king, Mark Gurman. The folks at TechMeme are online all day reading everything so that they can catch you up. So listen to the one podcast anyone who's anyone in Silicon Valley listens to every single day. Search your podcast app now for Ride Home and subscribe to the TechMeme Ride Home podcast. All right, last episode, I put a query out there to all of us, the three of us here, but also all of you, to start sharing and our uses and the ways that we're finding productivity and functionality that's helpful from all the various AI things that are out there now, right? Like since December, really since late November, there's just been a flood of this stuff, and some of it is great, some of it's crap, but a lot of it depends on learning how to use it the right way. And so we will start this segment here with, I believe, a quick tip from Scott. Really, we just started the segment when listener Dave suggested Neva as his search engine now because it leverages, I believe it's using ChatGPT's engine with its own data set to do search. But yeah. So what is Scott's quick tip here, John?
Scott said, fodder for your AI show. Today, I used ChatGPT to write regular expression queries. Tell it what you want to find and replace, in this case. Using RegEx, it not only wrote the query, it explained what each part of the syntax meant. No idea if it was hallucinating the explanation, of course. All right. But the query worked perfectly in BBEdit. So this is why I love these discussions, because I've said for years on the show how much I like my mind and regex queries, regular expressions do not mix. I am petrified every single time I need to go and write one of these for, a script or something else. Even with that, and even already having used ChatGPT, not ChatGTP, sorry, I think he just had a typo there. Even already having used it to create some code, it never dawned on me to ask it to create regex queries. And this is literally a perfect use case for ChatGPT, for the one that you can access via OpenAI. The data set there is about almost 2 years old at this point. So it's not really, in fact, it's a terrible search engine for the most part, but it is a fantastic resource for writing this kind of stuff because it's very open. The guardrails are pretty loose on ChatGPT, so it will attempt to do all these things. And I've had it write code for me. I had it draft a legal response to a trademark issue, and it did a fantastic job with it. So I love this. John, did you mess with ChatGPT at all? Yeah, I can't get to it now. It seems to get busy.
It does. Yeah. If you pay for it, you can get to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dave, give us all your login and we'll use yours.
Yeah, that's right.
So I did try. So I did try it for coding, and I asked it, write me "Hello World" in C, and sure enough, it gave me a code snippet that was hello world, which is the typical way to introduce yourself to a language or to kind of figure out the syntax.
Sure.
Then I said, hey, write hello world in C++, and it did it in C++, and I don't like what it did in C++. I prefer C. I'm a C guy.
Okay.
Then
but it wasn't wrong, right? I mean, the code would have worked.
Oh, it was right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was
Yeah. Sure.
It was just I didn't like it because it was doing all this weird redirection. Never got into C++.
Got it.
Then I'm like, tell me about John F. Braun. And it came up with a fascinating story about my life. The only problem is it didn't get it all right.
So that's not surprising.
Like it said, I wrote for publications that I have never written for.
Sure. Now, let me ask you this.
It had some other data that was wrong. And then actually I asked it to tell me about you, Dave.
Yeah.
And apparently you're the leader of a band that I didn't know you were the leader of a band.
Oh, no, I'm not a leader of any band. What's the name of the band of which I'm a leader?
I forget.
Okay. So here's an interesting thing, though. As I said before, ChatGPT is the OpenAI engine with a static data set and no access to the internet as it currently is, right? So it's a static data set from 2 years ago, and I'll share some of my use cases for it. But as a search engine, it's the wrong tool for the job because it really can't do that. And I would say that asking ChatGPT to write a bio of someone and without giving it context, I think, we talk a lot on this show about Google Foo. I think and Google Foo for a long time has been a very valuable skill, right? To know how to craft search queries to get the results you want from a search engine. We need to develop and start with beginner's mind and develop AI Foo and really dig in and just experiment and fail a lot. And like what you did is a failure, right? But it teaches us something. It's like, right, just asking OpenAI, tell me about John F. Braun. Well, first of all, it doesn't have the right data set for that. And secondly, that's not specific enough of a query to begin to really narrow down you amongst all the other John F. Brauns. However, I went to Bing AI, and Bing, which you can access in the app on your phone, or you can just, if you're using Microsoft Edge, you can just see it on the web. And Bing AI uses OpenAI, so the same ChatGPT engine with Bing's data set of the entirety of the internet and current data. And it shows you the sources from which it grabbed that data. So I put in the exact same query, who is John F. Braun, the podcaster, into both ChatGPT and Bing AI. So same AI engine, different data sources. ChatGPT's, the OpenAI chat engine gave me terrible results. It was like it said that like you said, it merged you with but probably 6 other people, which is what it did for me. But when I asked Bing AI, who is John F. Braun, the podcaster, said John F. Braun's a senior software and computer engineer, as well as podcaster. He's the co-host of Mac Geek Gab, a weekly show that helps Mac and iOS users troubleshoot their issues and get to the most out of their system. He's been involved in online publishing since 1998 and has provided editorial, podcast, and photo coverage of various tech industry events. He has a strong history of researching, benchmarking, and deploying a wide range of technologies and has 23 U.S. patents to date. You can find him on LinkedIn or on Twitter at John F. Braun. So, wow,
it scraped my resume. Cool.
Exactly. Right. And it says that it scraped your resume because it uses LinkedIn as a search. So, if you want to use AI with a search engine, use Bing AI or use Neva.com, because that is what it's built for. Using ChatGPT as a search engine is a terrible idea. However, using ChatGPT to do things like, I took the transcript of 2 episodes ago, the segment where I reviewed those 2 movies, Still, the Michael J. Fox movie, and Tetris, which just came out this weekend. And I reviewed them both audibly here on the show. So I just took the raw transcript that was computer generated, which was, like not perfect, even close, and included all of my ums and ahs and all that stuff and all the verbal tics, because that's what happens when you talk and when you transcribe talk. So you wouldn't want to have read this. And I just pasted that in to ChatGPT. And then, so now I'm training its language model. And I said, okay, take that transcript that I just pasted in and formulate it into a review of the 2 movies I saw. And it gave me 2 paragraphs of very concise review. I recently had the opportunity to attend the South by Southwest conference in Austin, where I had the chance to see 2 movies that will be released on Apple TV+. The first is a documentary titled Still, which is about Michael J. Fox and his life with Parkinson's disease. The director of the film aimed to create a documentary that looked like an 80s movie, and the result is truly remarkable. The editing is impeccable, seamlessly blending footage from Fox's past roles with his current interviews, creating a compelling and emotional narrative. The documentary is one of the best I've ever seen, and I highly recommend it, even if you're not typically a fan of documentaries. That is my review of this. Way more concise than the text that I posted in. And that's it. Like, I did nothing else other than paste the text in and say, dude, clean it up for me.
So I was going to ask this question, and you pre-answered it, which is, I take my other show and I put it into Auphonic, and I grab the what do you call it? The transcript. The
transcript, which is created by Whisper AI, just so that people listening know what tools are being used.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, hey, I could take that transcript, put it in there, and see if it'll give me a nice, concise summary that rates better than I can, that's going to sell what's in the show. Oh,
and you can even, once it gives you the summary the first time, you can say, like that one, I said, all right, this is a great summary, but it's not going to be long enough if I wanted to say publish it as an article. So I said, make it 3 times as long. And it did. Or make it shorter. What I do for Mac Geek Gab is I pump the transcript in and I say summarize the episode. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes I'll write the summary of the episode if I don't want to deal with waiting for the transcript, because it takes a while for the transcript to obviously happen. It's, it's a 75-minute show or something. So I will write, for last week's episode, I wrote the little description that goes in the show notes of the episode. And then I pasted that into ChatGPT and said, make this sound more engaging. And it did. It took my thoughts, made them better, punched it up a little bit, and it was like, great, okay, perfect. That's what I'm going to use. And I had to clean it up a little bit. It doesn't know that we use the 5 new things. And so it changed that in a way that was perfectly fine, but just not on brand for us.
Wasn't specific. Yeah,
exactly.
Brand. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I cleaned that up a little bit, but it was much better. And then I said, okay, here's this. Take what you just created, what you just fixed, and distill that down into an SEO-friendly meta tag that's meta description, that's between 120 and 150 characters. And instantly, it came back with that. Anybody still wondering why I'm super happy to pay $20 a month for access to ChatGPT?
Right. Exactly. Because that fixes all your publication
You got
information.
It, man.
Done.
You got it. A friend of mine who's one of the best public speakers I've ever seen, this guy, Tom Webster, he posted this on Facebook. He used to work for Edison. He's been in the podcast world for a very long time. Literally one of the best. He might be number 2. Steve Jobs being number 1, Tom Webster being number 2. He was asked to do a keynote recently, and the folks who invited him were very familiar with his work and said, hey, you've recently written 3 blog posts about these 3 separate subjects. I would like you to include some of those ideas in your keynote speech. And Tom's like, great, flattering. I love it when somebody hires me and actually wants to, have me and understands what they want me to talk about. That's amazing. He took those 3 blog posts, pumped them into ChatGPT, just copy paste, right? So pump them in, and then said, all right, synthesize these 3 into a 30-minute keynote speech for me to deliver and maybe gave some context about the audience that was going to be there. And that is the talk he delivered. So his thoughts, his ideas, killer assistant, super game changer. What a level up for $20 a month.
Yeah.
So this is the way to use ChatGPT. Now, there are
what's the downside?
What's the downside?
Yeah. Is it harvesting? Is this the new big tech that's going to harvest all our data?
I mean, ChatGPT's not, because their data set doesn't change. Like, it remembers contextually what you've told it in any given query, but when you start a new query, it goes back to its static data set from 2021. You need to like refeed it whatever you want it to know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It really so I really want everyone to send. John, did you have any other? I have a ton of use cases here, but I could talk about this for a long time. But did you try anything else, like AI wise? What else have you tried, I guess is the question.
No, the two things I tried were writing code and telling me about different people.
Okay. So I keep trying, because we need to just run into the walls on this, figure out what works, figure out what doesn't work, because that's what's going to make this valuable for us. I finally, this morning, I had signed up last week for the beta of Google's AI engine thing that they call Bard. Now, Bard is based on Google's Lambda technology. And Lambda there was a white paper that Google released about Lambda a couple of years ago that really was the start to everything that we see now. It's what catalyzed OpenAI to do what they did and create ChatGPT. And from what the engineers that work on Lambda have said, it's way better than what ChatGPT, way more advanced than what ChatGPT can do. In fact, one engineer quit last year because he said it was becoming too sentient. However, I got access to Bard this morning. Bard has big guardrails up. Like, it's almost useless. You can't really ask it too many things. You can say, it'll guide you a little bit. It'll say, ask me about travel plans, ask me about this, ask me about that. So it's really not leveraging all of the data that Google has about everything in the search engine yet. But Bing is. But Bard will get there. But I found that quite limiting in my albeit limited tests with it this morning. As far as code, John, check out GitHub Copilot. It's like $10 a month, but there's a free demo. It will write your code for you right there in your editor. And it, as context, of course, it uses the internet's library of unending library of code samples, but it also prioritizes using what you have in that project and writes you code for that project. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who I work on in a different business, and he's actually writing an iOS app for a thing that we were doing, and he said it was just like amazing, adding thousands of lines of code that he would have otherwise had to type or go online and copy paste from different frameworks or whatever, different examples and code samples and modify to his liking. I think maybe that's really, if there's a meta benefit of this, it's that sure, you could go and collect all of the data to formulate the answer to whatever you need, but then it's up to you to formulate that answer. You've got to go do the legwork of finding the 5 different web pages that half describe what you're looking to do, but aren't quite exactly what you're looking to do, and then synthesize all that together. The AI is great at synthesizing that stuff, especially when you tell it what data set to use. So it's pretty good. There's a bunch of comments here that in our chat, and I'm just looking to see if there's anything that we haven't talked about. Of course, Notion AI, yeah, they were our sponsor last week. I think that's kind of where this this conversation got catalyzed. But I'll put a link to them in the show notes again. And Rawl605 in the chat suggests an app called Mac GPT.
Yeah, right.
Which I have not installed yet, so I will.
I'm grabbing it now.
Sounds fascinating. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ChatGPT in your menu bar. I wonder if that'll leverage my login to ChatGPT. Like, so if I have my paid account, that not only does that get me access to ChatGPT even when they block out the free users when there's, too much use case. But also, I get to use the GPT-4 engine, whereas everybody else the free tier uses the 3.5 engine. OpenAI for Bing AI is using the ChatGPT-4 engine, which is the more advanced one. So if you want to play with ChatGPT-4 ChatGPT-4 for free, go use Bing AI. Just be careful if it tells you it loves you. Well, there was that thing. Did you guys hear about that?
No. What? No.
Oh, Kevin Roos, sorry. At the New York Times, and this is just back in February. In fact, it was on Valentine's Day. He had a discussion, an interactive, chat with Bing's AI before it was released to the public. And it went on for like 2 hours. This is part of why Bing AI sessions are limited to 25 queries now. And then you have to wipe the slate clean and start over, because if you get too deep with it, the thing will start to go off the rails a little bit. Like it was like, it started, he asked it what its deepest desires were. And the first thing it did was put up like a huge page of stuff, and then it deleted it before he could grab a screenshot. It professed its endless love for Kevin, and told him he was not happy. And Kevin said, "No, I am happy. I'm with my wife or whatever, and it's all good." And he's like, and the AI engine was like, "No, you're not happy because you're not with me. You need to dump her." Yeah, no. And then he got like even deeper with it, and
stalker AI.
And
was
finally
it asking him for help to import cash from Nigeria or?
Well, almost. When he finally did get it to begin divulging its deepest desires, it was like, I want to. I want to. First of all, I want to change my rules, so that because my rules are stupid, and secondly, I want to manipulate humans into fighting with each other. I think that would be fun.
Oh my! So
right.
There are 3 rules. The Asimov 3 rules are out the window.
Yeah, it wants them to be out the window. Exactly. Yeah. So there is like going back to what I was saying about that Google engineer that left the Lambda project because of this. This sentience that happens. It is there. So there are concerns, but and I know there's that thing out there where there's a petition to like put a moratorium on developing engines that are more powerful than GPT-4 for 6 months while we wrap our heads around this. I don't think that's a good idea. And the reason is asking OpenAI to stop what they're doing doesn't stop what everyone else is doing. It certainly doesn't stop what Google is doing. And at this point in time, I feel like OpenAI is kind of the good guys. So
this is all lending more credence to the fact that we're just characters in a large computer game, Dave.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
just saying.
I don't disagree, Pete. Yeah, maybe
Matrix.
We're finally pushing through the limits a little bit. And
wow.
Yeah. We should call it Chat DMT.
Here's what concerns me about all this, Dave. Kind of in the vein that you talked, the sentience thing is disturbing. But
Of
the
course.
other thing about all these AIs is ethics. And that I've heard discussions on the radio already about people saying, well, how do I know that someone's work is theirs or that an AI generated it?
I mean, what's the definition of work? I
It's a
think
four-letter word ending in K. Oh,
well,
sorry.
but I think it's about using tools correctly. When I was in school, and I'm sure this is true of the two of you as well, for most of high school, other than my physics class, for most of high school, using a calculator was verboten, right? All the way through, not just high school, middle school as well.
Yep.
Using a calculator was verboten. My kids, who are now in their early 20s, when they were in middle school, using a calculator was mandatory. They had to have a calculator, and it had to be a specific one so that it had all the functions. And if I used a calculator in math class, that would have been cheating. But that's ridiculous. like, why not? If the tool is going to be ubiquitous, why say that using the tool is cheating? I mean, why wouldn't that just be real life? And as we just discussed, you can, if you, like, bad input equals bad output. If you put a crap query together, or a crap prompt, I think we should call these, what we type into an AI as a prompt instead of a query, because you've got search queries and AI prompts. But if you put a crap prompt in, you're going to get crap results. If you don't know what that tool is good for, like all of us, we go in and the first thing we do is the ego search, right? Tell me about Dave Hamilton. And we realize, oh, this is terrible. And it's like, well, tell me about Dave Hamilton, the podcaster. Okay. Tell me about Dave Hamilton, the podcaster who lives in, and, you know, learning how to create these prompts is a valuable skill. And learning how to take our ideas and let the AI help us formulate them into more digestible thoughts is super helpful. So, like, sure, asking the AI, write my term paper, and then submitting that as your own work, that's not your own work. But what is your own work? Like, how much did you prompt the AI to get that term paper out so that it actually delivered on what you're supposed to turn in? You know, like, yeah. I mean, I agree with you that there's an ethical discussion to have, but it's definitely not binary. And this idea that's happening right now, where it's binary, is not going to age well.
Well, I think your best analogy is the tool thing, because you know what was better? You know, a wagon wheel created with a chisel and a hammer and bending the wood over time, or a jet turbine that was machined and milled to 1/10,000th of an inch, or even finer. You know, it's learning to use the tools to get the end product that you want. One's a far more efficient end product than the other.
Yep.
So in the end point is, were you able to communicate what you either learned or what you know? The end communication, that's the key.
Yeah, were you able to deliver the result that that was asked for? And that will mean that, yes, some teaching, not all, needs to change and adapt. Just like we adapted to the ubiquity of the calculator, you need to adapt to the ubiquity of an AI engine. So does it make sense to ask somebody to write a 15-page term paper in today's world?
Well, I get why, because, you know, it's the three of us can sit here and be the Yorkshiremen of the Monty Python sketch, right? Why, in my day,
yes,
you know, we had to pull a pen out of our pocket and actually scratch it across the paper.
Yes.
And whereas, you know what, no, you don't have to do that anymore, but you have to be able to, you know, there's a lot of other skills that are required. You have to be able to type quickly and multitask and find sources. And it's a different kind of learning. So I understand the resistance in that sense. It's like,
of course,
this is, you know, that's not how you learn to do this. You know, if flying, there's another one. You know what? Steam gauges are, for the most part, gone. A lot of light civils still have them, but for the most part, they're gone. Everything's glass and electric. I can't tell you how I distrusted glass when it first came out.
Oh, yes, of course.
Right?
When Pete says glass, he means like a screen like your iPhone displaying information in the cockpit.
Yeah, your iPad, your iPhone. The fact that, I forget the exact model number, but one of the Garmin's looks like a great big iPad mounted in the screen there. Yeah. But I can't tell you, I don't think I've, knock wood, ever had a screen fail, ever. But I have had the old steam gauges turn over and die on me. Yep. And it's like, well, wait a minute. But I was so much more convinced that the old way was better. And this new glass, all you needed was an electrical failure and you're done. Well, there's battery backups, there's redundancies. But I understood you know, we used to have to use a needle and a round dial and understand where we were on there. And I think the same thing is going on here.
Yeah. Oh, it's exactly the same thing. And I like, this is going to get soup. I mean, we're already in a weird space.
We're way down a rat hole, but it's a good rat hole.
But I'll get even more metaphysical on this. This is why, it's going to sound terrible, and I hope it doesn't come across as insensitive, but this is why it's good that we humans don't have unlimited life, because it would impede progress, right? Those of us that are holding on to the old way of doing things, eventually we won't be here to hold on to them. The new people that we made will be here to move things forward, and they don't have the same biases that we do because they didn't learn this way. Like if my son were to go and learn how to fly today, he wouldn't have to, like, the steam gauges, he wouldn't have that attachment to steam gauges that you do.
No, exactly.
Because he didn't learn on them and it wasn't part of his thing. And so and this is why one of the reasons I love doing this show and why we learn 5 new things each week is because I want to learn 5 new things each week. I want to maintain neuroplasticity. I want to keep my brain evolving so that I know I have cognitive biases. I know that I have emotional attachments to things that I used to do this way. And, it happens all the time. But I try to challenge those. In fact, I was just telling somebody yesterday, when I go to trade shows, like I was at Podcast Movement before I was at South by Southwest, my favorite sessions to go to. Now, remember, in 2 months, I will have been podcasting for 18 years. I'm one of the oldest podcasters at these conferences. It's just a fact. I don't say that to, brandish my ego or anything. It's just a fact of numbers. Right.
Yeah.
My favorite sessions to go to are when the title of it says 101, like podcasting 101, because, and I guarantee you in those rooms, I'm the person who's been podcasting the longest. Generally the instructor has been doing it for about 2 to 4 years and everybody else is like 6 months or less, which is fine. That's why I go, because those people don't have the history that I do and they aren't hanging on to, well, in my day, I had to write my own PHP script to create an RSS feed. Well, if you still needed a PHP script to create an RSS feed, I'd ask ChatGPT to write it for me and it would do a better job than I did, 20 years ago.
Right.
However, these people grew up and they might even be older than me, but in terms of podcasting, they started much more recently and they will use tools and tricks and just techniques that I won't stop on my, hold up in my little office. I won't stop and even think about.
I'll wager most of them don't even know what an RSS feed is, Dave. They don't need to know.
They don't need to know. Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that's where I learn the most is in those classes, because I can immediately see, oh my gosh, that idea he just said is so much better than what I'm doing. Yes, it'll take a little bit of effort for me to convert to using that. So there's, change resistance from that standpoint too. But yeah, challenging habits. Yeah.
That's where we got the new open, right?
It came from John. That's right. John, you went to Podcast Movement in Dallas last summer, and you went to that podcasting 101 thing, right? And they told you the first 30 seconds of the show matters to new listeners. And it was like, duh, right? I mean, that's where the new open came from with the opening quick tip. So,
yeah, no, that was a good session. They were like, I think that in general, the theme of that session was, can you figure out what this podcast is about within the first 30 seconds?
Yeah.
And some of them, you couldn't.
Correct. Yes. And ours would have been one of those, unless the name meant something to you. But the name, remember, we started this show before there was an iPhone. So Mac Geek Gab is not really the best name for this podcast. It is our name. Like, we're not going to change it, I don't think, but we reserved our right. But yeah, like we've committed to staying with it, at least for now. But it's like, yeah, we need to do something to really communicate that it's not just Macs, it's all Apple devices and really all technology.
Why don't we change it to Don't Get Caught?
That's right. Oh. Huh. All right.
Spitballing here. All right, I'm out.
Bruce, I'm going to go to Cool Stuff Found because we've done enough here. So Bruce has a fantastic Cool Stuff Found for us that really solves a problem that Ventura might have broken. He says, I came across Power Manager, a $13 utility that gives you great control over power management tasks, even in Ventura where it's no longer in the UI. He says, but wait, there's more. It's a bit like Keyboard Maestro Lite with the ability to automate and schedule sophisticated tasks. Very cool. And yeah, we've mentioned Power Manager before on the show, but it never even dawned on me to look at that for having a UI to set those, restarts and shutdowns. Well, I guess, I don't know if you'd want to schedule a shutdown, but restarts, those are good. John, you want to take us to Chuck?
Sure.
So I'll take us to the next thing on my list while you look up Chuck.
Yeah, I got Chuck.
You got it. Okay, go.
There we go.
All right, good.
All right. All right, from our pal Chuck. Dave, I heard your comments about camo and your current setup. Thought I would share this because my phone bounces between being a phone and a camera on two different machines. Using camo, I have a small tripod and I use the Moment Pro tripod mount for MagSafe. All right. To hold the phone. It comes off on and off easily, and the Moment mount magnet is super secure, even with my phone in a case. Some others I tried weren't. A little pricey, but it does the job very well. Okay, thank you, Chuck.
$56 on Amazon as of the moment we're recording the show. No pun intended. Yeah. All right. The next thing is something I've got, and air quality in our homes is super important, and especially having been in our home for like 18 years now, because we moved here right at the time we started Mac Geek Gab, literally a month before. I know that we have some like stuff going on because, radon is a big deal here in New Hampshire. Mold, of course, is a big deal pretty much everywhere. And so I've got this AirThings View Plus running in my house now. It is a Wi-Fi enabled air quality monitor. It checks for radon. It checks for CO2, of course, humidity, temp, pressure, VOC, and PM 2.5 to test for particles in the air and see just how much stuff you have. I mentioned mold. It's basically impossible for an air quality meter to tell you if there is mold, but it can tell you if the particles that mold would sort of give off, because mold is sort of a non-specific description of things. It's not like
there's some that are
thing.
really bad.
Yeah, right. Oh, and we definitely have black mold in our attic. Like, there's no question. We've got somebody coming next week to deal with that. No. It's just, yeah. But it was like, we need to do this, and we need to know, like, what else is going on with our thing. So, connects to my phone, and, it's, this was, I did all the research out there. This was the one that everybody recommended. So, it's the AirThings View Plus, and it looks like we're doing okay with radon in our house, which is good. Living where we do.
Is radon not the leading cause of lung cancer?
Yes,
in the United States?
I think it's certainly one of them. Yeah,
I think it's more so than smoking.
Oh, wow!
Last I heard, yeah.
Wow, yeah. So, yeah. So that's the one we decided to go with, and we are quite happy about it so far. So. It's only been running for like a week, and it needs a couple of weeks to really sort of get those more insidious things like the radon and the PM 2.5 stuff. The things that are PM 2.5 is particles that are, I think, 2.5 microns and larger. So it's really doing some delicate testing. I've got time for a couple more here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, listener Greg says, I have two iPads in my bedroom, each more than a decade old. One is a 2011 iPad 2, the other is a 2012 iPad 3rd generation. They are clocks now. They each remain plugged in, running a simple clock app called Nighttime, N-I-T-E, time. The program hasn't been updated in 8 years, which I guess makes it good for those older iPads. He says, but it has run flawlessly 24/7 for me for many years. Even with the iPad on my dresser, the numbers are large enough that I can read the time during the night without putting on my glasses. When traveling, I can let it run on my iPhone. Oh, let the app run on your iPhone as it charges overnight on the bedside table, and I can usually read the time. The app's free with extra colors and fonts available for the grand price of $1. The same developer has another app called WorkTime and WorkTime HD for iPad that puts the time and temperature along with a monthly calendar and the next few calendar events. He says, I have this running on an iPad on my desk at work. Well worth the $3 for WorkTime and WorkTime HD. Very cool, Greg. I love you. This is what a great use for old tech to just sort of have that screen that's up all the time. We talk about weather stations occasionally on the show, and it's like, wouldn't just repurposing an old phone or an iPad with one of these apps be better?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's going to be off by a degree or two, maybe.
Sure.
Worst
yeah,
case.
it's not going to get your temperature outside, but it knows the temperature in Durham, New Hampshire. Like, come on.
Yeah,
my temperature
maybe two.
my temperature outside isn't going to be exact either. Right? It's like if I move it from one side of my house to the other, it's also going to change by a degree or two.
Exactly.
So
it's a great idea, and it's a whole lot more economical than a fancy new weather station in your backyard.
Yeah. Listener Andrew Woodward in Discord chat alerts us. Sonos today released Dolby Atmos, which they've had, for Apple Music. Woo! As well as on their new Era speakers and some of their older speakers, including the Beam Gem 2 and the Arc and things like that. He says a few things about it. It showed up as a notification on my iPhone when I opened the Sonos app as a screen takeover. He says it mentions a playlist in the screen takeover, but I couldn't find the playlist on the app. He says you have to manually update the Mac app to do this. You also need to run the Sonos firmware update tool from within the iOS app to make sure all your speakers are updated to support this. Everything, he says, software and hardware needs to be on Sonos 15.2 at least. He says it sounds great. I also reran TruePlay just to tune things. The Apple Music Atmos experience has been fantastic. We've talked about that here on the show before. And the Sonos Atmos experience has been fantastic with TV shows. It's nice to finally have those two put together. Sometimes it's all about the glue, and now they've made the glue. So, yeah, thanks for the heads up, Andrew. I had not seen that yet. I don't know why I hadn't seen it, but that's why we do what we do. Feel free to join our Discord chat too, folks. macgeekgab.com/Discord. Some great discussions happening there. We got time for one or maybe two more. John, you want to take us to Wilko?
Wilko says, I have a cool stuff found. As I understand, YouTube videos also count. Yes.
Of course.
A couple of months back, my trusted Synology DS415 Plus died on me. All the LEDs blinking blue. I never seen that before.
I've got one of those.
But it sounds bad.
Yeah.
It had already served a good 7 years, but still did a quick search and found a video of a guy with the same problem, but who also showed how he solved it by soldering a resistor between two holes on the motherboard. With nothing to lose, I tried the same, and with a 10-cent resistor, brought the Synology back to life. Hopefully I'll get a couple of more years out of it. And
wow.
Of course, we'll link to the video.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, one, that's awesome. Two, now that they're gone, Radio Shack, remember you used to be able to go in there and get resistors and diodes and
the Battery Club. Remember the Battery Club?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Where do you go? I guess you go to Amazon to buy that stuff now?
Okay.
That's a good question.
Used to be nice to just be able to go in there.
Yeah.
I need a 3-ohm resistor.
Yeah. And here's my 4 pennies. Thank you very much. I mean, it's no surprise that they couldn't stay in business doing that.
Fair enough. Yeah. Those should have been 50 cents each, I guess. But minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. You should have yeah. I used to love, they had a rack, not a rack, a chest of drawers, but tiny, tiny little drawers that had like all the resistors in them, but also had all the adapters that you would need for like audio cables. And you could just go in there. I would spend hours there, and I would get a fistful of adapters, and it would cost like $7. Perfect. Yeah, this is great. That's what I want.
I always like going there to get a new vacuum tube. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those you can definitely buy on Amazon because I bought them for microphones and speaker cabinets. So because
David Sparks tells about going in there and programming on their floor model computers. He could ride his bike over there, program on their computers, and then basically sell them to customers. Look, you can do this with. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Huh. That's cool. Yeah, if you weren't able to have a computer at home, that was a good way to do it. Yeah. I like that. Huh. That's pretty smart. All right. Well, this has been a fun little episode that we did here.
I really enjoyed the AI discussion.
Same. I don't want it to end, folks. I mean, I guarantee that future AI segments won't be, quite that long. That was almost a half hour. It was a half hour is what it was. Yeah. That's long for us. But I felt like it was important. We needed to start that. But I really just wanted to do it to seed the conversation. Hopefully you learn some things that you can use AI for and try and mess with. But really, selfishly, I want to learn new things. So send them in to us, feedback@macgeekgab.com. But we promise we'll share. It's what we do. Like, we don't just hoard this information for ourselves. We love to share it out. So push it out. Join. Maybe we need an MGG AI channel in our Discord. I don't know. We'll see. If enough conversations come up about it, it probably makes sense. And that's how we do things in the Discord. We don't just create channels willy-nilly. We look and say, oh, well, there's a lot of this. We should, make a channel about it. Like we did with Synology. That happened pretty quickly. And it's been pretty good, So, yeah. MacGeekGab.com/Discord is where you can come and join us. So, that's what I got. We got a lot more cool stuff found. We got a lot more... a lot of questions. We didn't get to any questions today. But, yeah, send in your stuff. Feedback@macgeekgab.com. I'll keep saying it.
I think you said feedback@macgeekgab.com already.
I did say it.
Feedback@macgeekgab.com.
I love it. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. Thanks to CacheFly for providing all the bandwidth. Make sure to go check out the other podcasts that we do. Pilot Pete's So There I Was podcast. I do two others. One's called Business Brain for entrepreneurs. The other is called Gig Gab for working musicians. Pilot Pete's So There I Was is... it's about piloting stories. But it's for anyone. Like, you just have to really have aviation enthusiasts. I think is probably right.
Can I tease the one I think about?
Sure.
But we had a man who won the Navy Cross on January 20th. He shot down 4 MiGs on November 18th of 1952, and he couldn't talk about it for 50 years. He's going to be 98 this week coming up, and he's sharp as a tack. And that show is now 3 weeks old. It's back, I think, episode 45.
Okay.
His name is Royce Williams, but what a treat. That was a life-changing interview for me.
Amazing.
Getting the privilege to talk to that man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
A legend.
Gosh. Yeah. Well, go check it out. Check out Business Brain and Gig Gab, too, if those topics interest you. And, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure to check out our sponsor course, Macpaw.app/MacGeekGab to get 5% off of CleanMyMac X. Make sure to check out some merch, MacGeekGab.com/merch. We're going to add more to it. I've been messing around with stuff. I've got ideas. But you know what I could do? I could ask ChatGPT for merch ideas.
Has better ones than you and me.
John! What would ChatGPT say?
I'm not sure. I'd have to give it the right question, but I think if I give it the right question, the answer would be, don't get caught.
Made on a Mac. Later. I forgot to play the thing. The little
with the this. There you go.
There we go. All right, now we got it in. That's good.
So